Welcome to More Than a Paycheck, the podcast for high achievers who feel trapped in their job but know something has to change. If your bad manager and toxic work environment have you stressed and working crazy hours, and you want an easier solution than finding a new job, you're in the right place. Let's do this. Hey y'all, it's that time of year, yearly review season. I won't lie, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with the yearly reviews. I get why we do it, but they're annoying to do. I used to love to work that week in between Christmas and New Year's when I was in a corporate setting because so many people take it off and I could get so much done. And mainly I focused on yearly reviews for myself, for my team, for my coworkers, because you had to give feedback on their performance to their managers, the whole thing. That was kind of my favorite time to do it. Side note, at the same time, that week before Christmas and New Year's, I don't know if you're anything like me, but it's fascinating to watch myself kind of spiral. Like I'm just a hot mess that week because everything feels off schedule. We're kind of in limbo. The craziness of the holidays is over, but we haven't started the new year. Like I'm lazy, I'm tired, I don't get as much done, yet I'm also overly productive in some ways. It's just fascinating. Every year it happens and I just kind of let it. I don't know why, but I just love to kind of watch my brain and where it kind of spirals and freaks out before it resets come January 1, because apparently in my brain, there's something magical that happens at the new year. I don't know. Anyhow, okay. What I want to talk about, and this is going to be part 1 of a 3-part series. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. But I want to talk about a little bit different perspective to get through the yearly review process so that it's not such a drag, it's not such a waste of time, and it's actually kind of helpful. Because I went through and played the game a lot and just pushed the buttons and said the things, and it wasn't actually helpful for me to develop and grow. And I don't really think the feedback I was giving was always helpful to other people to grow and develop either. So, spoiler alert, the 3rd part in this 3-part series is the most important part, but you've got to do these first 2 steps kind of leading up to it to have it actually be helpful. So stick with me here. We're going to dive in. Today, we're going to look at kind of the first part of how to make the yearly review process actually helpful and not painful. Okay, before we do that, I want you to take a couple seconds and look around you. I want you to just look around your surroundings, no matter where you are, and I want you to notice everything that's green. Look to the sides, look behind you. If you're driving, don't look behind you, but look all around and just take a minute and just notice everything that you see that's green. Okay? Now, I want you to tell me, what are the things that you saw that are red? What you focus on is what you will see. Now, I know this seems really logical because when you tell your brain to find green, it finds green and it's purposely blocking out the red. But I want to help you understand this concept in terms of reviews, okay? Other people's perception of you is a reflection of them. If other people are out there looking for everything that's green, they're going to see what's green about you. If they're looking for what's red, they're going to see what's red about you, okay? So I want you to keep this in mind. We're going to kind of dive into this in 2 different areas. This happens in so many different ways. So right now, I'm in the process of moving and buying a new house. And as I've been going through this process for a couple months, I'm starting to notice things that didn't really process and notice before. It's things like the color of houses, okay? And now that I'm looking at buying a house and selecting these different things, I notice which color houses I like and don't like. And I judge the ones I don't like. I'm like, that's terrible. That's so ugly. Why would anyone ever paint their house that color? But before moving and buying a house was top of mind, I drove by these same houses all the time and I never had a thought or opinion of ooh, that's ugly. Why would they do that? It didn't bother me before because my perception and what I focused on has changed. So if people are calling out something that you're not good at, whether it's true or not, it's telling us a lot about them. It's telling us where is their perception. Okay. So again, we're going to look at this at 2 different angles. because I do think other people's feedback is important. But if their feedback is telling us about them, how is it actually important to us, right? If what you need to work on is the red things, but they only see the green things, them telling you the green things to work on isn't actually important for you. Their feedback of you, it's important to you because when you read their feedback, you are going to have an emotional response. And that's going to help you know what's actually important to you. So again, going back to that, like red or green, if they're like, oh, you need to work on this green thing, you need to work on this green thing. If you have no emotional response to it, that's telling you you don't actually agree and you don't really need to work on it. But if they're saying, oh, you need to work on this like dark green thing over here and it stings a little, that's important to know. Because what that's telling us is even just a teeny tiny sliver of you agrees with them. And that is helpful because that might be something you want to keep working on. Because what matters is what you think of the feedback they're giving you. Okay? Let me give you a couple examples. Let's say you get some feedback in your yearly review that you should have thought through the impact of a project you were working on, the impact it was going to have on this other team before you launched it. And you get this feedback, and if you're anything like me, I would probably get a little defensive to that. Let's say you get defensive because there was no way you could have known the impact. Maybe you even went to that team and talked to them about it, and they didn't identify the potential impact either, and it's not your fault. And you were working fast, and there was a lot of pressure. Okay, if this person is calling out this thing of you need to work on making sure you're looking around corners and thinking through the impact your work can have on other teams, and you're feeling defensive, that's very helpful to know. Not because of what they're saying, but because there's a part of you that agrees with it, okay? What this is also telling us is the person giving this feedback, maybe they're not comfortable with failure. Maybe they don't know what to do when they're surprised by things or things don't go according to plan. As a leader that managed a whole lot of people, when someone was giving feedback on another employee, yes, it was helpful to know kind of where there's areas I could help this employee, but it was equally as helpful for me to know what are the things this employee is focusing on. Quick interruption. If what you learn on this podcast is helpful, this is just the beginning. Your next step is to go and schedule a coffee chat, and we're going to dive into your specific situation. You'll leave knowing a few things you can try right away to get unstuck. And no, this is not a sales call. My goal is to help however I can. If I think coaching can help, I will tell you about it, but I'm currently on a wait list for new clients. Click the link in the show notes or go to lindsaylymancoaching.com/chat and get on my calendar. I only offer a few of these a week, and it's first come, first serve. All right, back to the podcast. What is the reflection of this feedback on them as the person giving it? So it would help me as their manager to know how to work with them. Maybe this was a strength of theirs and they were trying to get it to be a strength of other people. And I wanted to utilize that more and figure out, how do I utilize this person to help their strength become a strength of other people's? Or maybe it was helpful for me to see, okay, this person isn't comfortable failing. That's good to know. Yes, we could have looked around a corner and improved this thing before we launched over here. That might be true. But what else is true is I need to help this person know when things don't go according to plan, how do they feel more confident and comfortable doing it? Other people's perception of you is a reflection of them. Let's look at another example. Maybe you get some feedback that you need to spend more time training your team and teaching them how to do their job. But maybe you disagree. But there's not a lot of emotion to it. As a leader, I would sometimes get this feedback of you need to help them understand the day-to-day and be able to deliver at a higher quality. And I was like, maybe, like I could see where there was truth to it, but I didn't feel defensive. There wasn't like an emotional sting to it because my leadership style is to create a very safe place for them to try things, to set clear expectations, but make it okay for them to fail so that they learn how to learn and they learn how to do it their way. Which means it's not always going to be perfect. It's not always going to be up to the quality bar my stakeholders might want it. So it makes sense why a stakeholder is giving this feedback, but as the person getting it, it doesn't sting because I know why I have that type of leadership style. So again, it's important to get other people's feedback, not because we want to hear what they're saying and go and chase it and make sure everyone loves us and we keep everyone happy. You're not for everyone. You want to do it because you want to know what feedback stings a little or makes you feel a little defensive. That's the feedback you yourself agree with and want to go and work on. As a manager who might see this feedback come across for someone else, it's telling me this person likes to know how to do things and is maybe struggling to figure things out, right? Remember, it's a reflection of them. So when we're reviewing the feedback you're getting from other people, don't get stuck on what they're saying. You want to focus on your response to it and decide for yourself what things you do and don't want to work on. So what do I mean by that? Let's go back to that example of you getting some feedback that you felt a little defensive about. You should have thought through the impact to the other team. Maybe next year what you want to work on is how could you find easier ways to more clearly call out the changes and possible impact? Or maybe you want to work with key teams before you launch some big things to just have a backup plan. In case things do go wrong, what's our backup plan? This is going to help you get better and not bitter. We're not taking this feedback and obsessing over making sure every single stakeholder team understands every single thing and that this never happens again. We're just doing our part to just get a little bit better. Because if it happens again and you believe you did everything you could, you're not going to feel defensive. You're going to say, yep. And that's the trade-off we as a company make to focus on delivering and being quick to fix when it's needed. I can totally see where that feedback is coming from and makes sense why that person would say that. But I also believe I made the right call, right? So again, we're getting feedback on things we could do to improve. But if you're not emotionally charged behind it, it's something you like about you and it's okay for other people to have opinions about it. So the first part of getting feedback from other people is to focus on what part stings and makes you feel defensive and what things do you choose to work on improving next year and what part of that feedback you're just like, let it go. And as a manager, what is that feedback telling you about the person providing it? It's very helpful information for you. The second part about getting feedback from other people is to remember your feedback of other people is a reflection of you as well. So there might be some feedback you have of other people, and I'm not saying it's not true. It's not things they shouldn't be working on, but it's just good to know the feedback you have of other people is a reflection of you. It's really helpful for you to know what's important to you. What do you value? Who do you want to be? And the feedback and criticism we have of other people often helps us understand kind of what are those core values. Let me give you a couple examples of what I mean by that. Let's say some of the feedback you have for your manager is that they lack a vision and they're not able to clearly communicate in a succinct way that sets clear expectations for the team. And they're really micromanaging and all in the weeds and in the data and not giving the team space to go and deliver because they're not able to articulate what is the thing we're actually trying to do. What's the goal? How are we measuring it? Why are we focusing on this? And then just letting the team get there. Okay, that's really good to know. I'm not saying that's not feedback that you wouldn't want to give on your manager. Maybe that is something they need to hear. But that's also telling us a lot about you. Let's look at another example. Maybe you have some feedback for a coworker because they tend to take credit for your work. And yet at the same time, they're not necessarily owning their work stream and getting their work done as they should. This may be feedback. Again, you want to give specific examples, talk about the impact. But these are good things for you to know and reflect on yourself. How can you get better at this? And why is this so important to you? So knowing this is core to you. let's go back to that manager that's kind of micromanaging and not setting clear expectations. Okay, it's good for you to know clear expectations and having room to deliver are really important to you. We like that. Let's hold on to it. Here's my question to you. Are you setting clear expectations of what you need from your manager and giving them room to figure it out along the way? How can you continue to improve on this? How can you continue to find opportunities where that's the leadership style that's going to set you up for success? Okay. Again, I'm not saying we don't have feedback for other people, but it's a reflection of you. That example of someone taking credit for your work and not owning their own work streams. Okay. What are some things you could do to give someone else credit for their work? How do you give yourself credit where it's due and show up no matter what? How could you be better at this? We're not looking at this from this person's a problem, we need to get rid of them. We want to look at this and know the whole point of a yearly review is for you to identify what went well and what things do we want to keep working on. The feedback you have of other people is a great place to focus, to know who are you as an employee, who are you as a leader, what are some of those core functional principles, and how do you keep getting better at them as well. So the first part of the yearly review cycle I want you to focus on is remembering other people's perspective of you is a reflection of them. Your perspective of other people is a reflection of you. Other people's feedback is important because it's going to help you understand which feedback do you emotionally respond to. That's telling you where you want to grow as a person. The feedback you have of other people is also important because that helps you understand who do you want to be as a person. All right, y'all. Stay tuned for part 2 next week. You got this. We'll talk soon. Hey, you didn't schedule a coffee chat yet. Remember, that's the next step. There's so much more I can help you with. You're going to leave this coffee chat knowing a few things you can try right now, depending on your specific situation. This is not a sales call. My goal is simply to help however I can. If I do think coaching can help, I can tell you about it, but I'm currently on a wait list for new clients. Click the link in the show notes or go to lindsaylymancoaching.com/chat to get on my calendar. I only offer a few coffee chats a week and it's first come, first serve, so don't wait. Chat with you soon.